Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because today's story is going to leave you questioning everyone you trust. This is about how I discovered my wife's fitness coach wasn't just training her body, he was running an operation that destroyed marriages for profit. And the revenge I planned made sure he'd never hurt another family again. Let me start by painting you a picture of my life 6 months ago. My name's Michael, I'm 38, and I work in corporate finance. My wife Amanda and I had been married for 12 years, living in a beautiful suburban home with our 2 kids. Amanda was 35, worked part-time as a graphic designer, and had always been health conscious but never obsessive about fitness. That changed when she turned 35 and started talking about wanting to get back in the best shape of her life. I want to feel strong and confident again, she told me. Having 2 kids has changed my body, and I want to reclaim it. I was completely supportive. Amanda deserved to feel amazing about herself, and if getting in shape would make her happy, I was all for it. She started researching personal trainers and found this guy named Derek who specialized in holistic body transformation for busy women. His website was polished and professional, with testimonials from dozens of satisfied female clients. Derek was 32, had an impressive physique, and marketed himself as someone who understood the unique challenges women faced in maintaining fitness while juggling family and career responsibility. What sold Amanda on Derek was his offer to conduct all training sessions in our home gym. No need to waste time traveling to a gym or dealing with crowded facilities, his marketing promised. I bring everything to you for a completely personalized experience. This seemed perfect for Amanda's schedule, and I liked the idea of her being comfortable in our own space. Derek's rates were steep, $150 per session for 90-minute appointments, 3 times a week. That was nearly $2,000 a month, but Amanda was so excited about the program that I agreed without hesitation. If this investment made her feel confident and healthy, it was worth every penny. The first time I met Derek, he impressed me with his professionalism. He arrived precisely on time, dressed in athletic gear that looked expensive but appropriate. He was polite, knowledgeable, and spent considerable time discussing Amanda's goals, current fitness level, and any concerns she had about starting an intensive program. I work exclusively with women because I understand their unique physiology, Derek explained to both of us. Men and women respond differently to training stimuli, and most generic fitness programs ignore these differences. My methods are specifically designed to help women achieve the lean, toned look they want while building functional strength. He outlined a comprehensive program that included strength training, flexibility work, nutrition coaching, and what he called mind-body connection exercises. Everything sounded legitimate and well-researched. Derek even provided Amanda with a detailed binder containing workout schedules, meal plans, and educational materials about women's fitness. For the first month, everything seemed perfect. Amanda was energized and motivated after each session. She talked enthusiastically about Derek's innovative techniques and how much stronger she felt. Her mood improved dramatically, and she seemed more confident than she'd been in years. But I started noticing changes that seemed unusual for someone just getting into better shape. Amanda began spending much more time and money on workout clothes, purchasing expensive athletic wear that seemed designed more for fashion than function. She bought new sports bras, leggings, and workout tops that were form-fitting and stylish, far beyond what she needed for exercising in our home gym. She also became very particular about her appearance before Derek's visit. Amanda would spend 30 minutes getting ready for what was supposed to be a workout session, carefully styling her hair, applying makeup, and choosing her outfit with the kind of attention she usually reserved for important social events. When I mentioned that she seemed to be putting a lot of effort into looking good for exercise, Amanda became defensive. "I want to look put together," she said. "Derek is a professional, and I don't want to look sloppy during our session. Besides, when you look good, you feel good, and that helps with motivation." The sessions themselves were becoming longer and more frequent. What started as 90-minute appointments 3 times a week gradually extended to 2-hour sessions, sometimes 4 times a week. When I asked about the schedule changes, Amanda explained that Derek was incorporating more advanced techniques that required additional time. "He's also including recovery work now," she told me. "Massage therapy, stretching routines, and relaxation techniques that help prevent injury and improve results. It's all part of his holistic approach." I noticed that during these extended sessions, Amanda and Derek seemed to spend a lot of time talking. I could hear their voices from other parts of the house, not the words, but the tone suggested intimate conversation rather than fitness instruction. When I casually asked what they discussed during workouts, Amanda's answers were vague. "Oh, motivational stuff. Derek is really good at helping me stay focused on my goals. He talks about mindset, visualization, that sort of thing." Around month 3, Amanda's behavior outside of the training sessions began changing in ways that concerned me. She became more secretive about her phone, taking calls in private and texting frequently with someone she never identified. When I asked who she was communicating with so often, she'd say it was just work stuff or mom friend. She also started going out more frequently, grabbing coffee with girlfriends, or running errands that seemed to take much longer than necessary. Amanda had never been particularly social outside of family events, so this sudden increase in outside activities seemed out of character. Most concerning was how she began talking about our marriage. Amanda started making comments about feeling unfulfilled and wondering if we'd grown apart. She'd ask questions like, "Do you think we're still the same people we were when we got married? And don't you sometimes wonder what life would be like with someone who really understands you?" These conversations made me uncomfortable, but I tried to be supportive. Marriage counselors always say that couples need to communicate openly about their needs and feelings. I assumed Amanda was going through some kind of midlife reflection and tried to be patient while she worked through whatever she was experiencing. But then Derek's visits started including elements that seemed questionable for a fitness program. Amanda mentioned that he was incorporating tantric breathing exercises and sensual movement patterns into their routine. When I asked for more details, she explained that these techniques were supposed to help women connect with their feminine energy and improve body confidence. "It's not sexual," she assured me when I expressed concern. "It's about helping women feel powerful and sensual in a healthy way." Derek says many women lose touch with that side of themselves after marriage and kids, and reconnecting with it improves overall wellness. One afternoon, I came home early from work and heard music coming from our home gym that didn't sound like typical workout music. It was slow, rhythmic, and had an intimate quality that seemed inappropriate for exercise. When I walked toward the gym to say hello, Amanda quickly met me in the hallway, slightly out of breath and flustered. "We're in the middle of a really intense session," she said, blocking my path. Derek says interruptions can be dangerous when we're working on advanced flexibility training. "Can you give us another hour?" That evening, I decided to do some research on Derek's background and training methods. His website looked professional, but when I dug deeper into his credentials, I discovered some concerning information. Derek's certifications were from organizations I'd never heard of, and when I looked them up, Several appeared to be diploma mills or unaccredited programs. His advanced training in women's fitness came from online courses that could be completed in a few days. Most troubling, I found reviews and complaints from other clients that painted a very different picture of his services. On a fitness forum, I discovered a thread titled, "Warning, Predatory Trainer in Metro Area," that contained detailed accounts from multiple women who'd had inappropriate experiences with Derek. The stories were remarkably similar to what I was observing with Amanda. One woman wrote, "He started with legitimate fitness training, but gradually introduced specialized techniques that became increasingly intimate. He convinced me that traditional training methods weren't effective for women, and that his approach would unlock my true potential. It took me months to realize I was being manipulated." Another post described how Derek would slowly isolate his female clients from their husbands and families by convincing them that their loved ones didn't understand their transformation journey and were holding them back from reaching their goal. The most damning evidence came from a woman whose marriage had ended after working with Derek. She described how he had systematically convinced her that her husband was emotionally unavailable and that she deserved someone who truly appreciated her feminine power. The affair that followed destroyed her family and left her financially devastated when Derek moved on to his next client. But the real revelation came when I discovered that Derek wasn't actually running a legitimate fitness business. He was operating what amounted to a sophisticated escort service disguised as personal training. His real specialty wasn't women's fitness, it was seducing married women and extracting money from them through a combination of sexual manipulation and emotional exploitation. I found evidence that Derek had been running this scheme for at least 5 years, targeting wealthy suburban wives who were vulnerable due to midlife dissatisfaction, body image issues, or marital problems. His method was always the same: establish legitimacy through professional credentials and references, gradually introduce intimate elements disguised as advanced training techniques, then exploit the emotional and physical connection to manipulate his client. Some women paid him tens of thousands of dollars for specialized programs that were really just elaborate covers for ongoing affairs. Others were convinced to leave their marriages and support Derek financially while he worked on building his business. In every case, Derek eventually moved on to new clients, leaving his victims emotionally and often financially destroyed. Armed with this information, I realized that Amanda wasn't just having an affair, she was being systematically manipulated by a professional predator who had refined his techniques through years of practice. The woman I loved was being groomed to destroy our marriage and potentially our family's financial security. But instead of confronting Amanda immediately, I decided to gather evidence and plan a response that would not only save my marriage, but also stop Derek from victimizing other women. If he was running a criminal enterprise, I was going to make sure he faced consequences for his actions. I started by installing hidden cameras throughout our home, focusing on the gym area where Derek conducted his sessions. The cameras were tiny and virtually undetectable, positioned to capture both audio and video of everything that happened during their appointments. What I recorded over the next 2 weeks was far worse than I had imagined. Derek's training sessions with Amanda were essentially elaborate seduction scenarios disguised as fitness instruction. He would begin each session with legitimate exercises, but gradually transition into activities that were clearly designed to create physical and emotional intimacy. The tantric breathing exercises involved Derek guiding Amanda through breathing patterns while maintaining close physical contact, often with his hands placed on intimate areas under the guise of helping her connect with her core energy. The sensual movement training was basically choreographed foreplay, with Derek positioning Amanda in compromising poses while providing hands-on guidance. Even more disturbing were the conversations they had during these sessions. Derek was systematically undermining Amanda's confidence in our marriage while presenting himself as the solution to her unhappiness. "Your husband doesn't really see you," I heard him say during one session. "He sees you as a wife and mother, but not as the sensual, powerful woman you're becoming. That's why you feel so alive during our sessions, because I see and appreciate the real you." Derek was also planting seeds about our financial situation, asking detailed questions about my income, our assets, and our spending habits. He presented these conversations as concern for Amanda's well-being, suggesting that she deserved a lifestyle that reflected her true worth. "You're transforming into someone extraordinary," he told her, "but transformation requires investment. You need to be prepared to prioritize your growth, even if people around you don't understand its value." The most manipulative aspect of Derek's approach was how he framed their relationship as a spiritual and emotional connection, rather than a simple affair. He convinced Amanda that what they shared was deeper and more meaningful than conventional relationships, and that society's rules about marriage and fidelity were obstacles to her personal growth. "What we have transcends ordinary relationships," he said during one session that was captured perfectly by my hidden cameras. "This is about you becoming the woman you were meant to be. Your husband represents your past, but I represent your future." By the end of the second week of recording, I had documented multiple instances of Derek engaging in sexual contact with Amanda, along with clear evidence of his manipulation tactics and predatory behavior. But I also had something else: information about his other clients and the scope of his operation. During their conversations, Derek had mentioned other women he was training, referring to them by first names and making comments about their progress and situation. Cross-referencing this information with the complaints I'd found online, I was able to identify at least 6 other married women in our area who were likely being victimized by the same scheme. My plan for dealing with Derek expanded beyond just saving my own marriage. I was going to expose his entire operation and make sure every woman he was manipulating learned the truth about what he was really doing. I spent the next week gathering additional evidence, including financial records showing the payments Amanda had been making to Derek, screenshots of their text message conversations, and documentation of his false credentials and fraudulent business practices. I also contacted a private investigator who specialized in financial fraud cases. Together, we discovered that Derek was operating under multiple business names, using different bank accounts to collect payments from his victims, and had been filing false tax returns that significantly underreported his income. The evidence we compiled painted a picture of a systematic criminal enterprise that had generated hundreds of thousands of dollars through fraud, manipulation, and what essentially amounted to prostitution disguised as fitness services. With all my evidence compiled, I was ready to execute a plan that would simultaneously save my marriage, stop Derek's predatory behavior, and ensure he faced serious legal consequences for his crime. My first step was to schedule a meeting with Amanda where I could present the evidence in a controlled environment. I arranged for our kids to stay with Amanda's sister for the weekend, telling Amanda I wanted us to have some uninterrupted time to reconnect and discuss our relationship. On Friday evening, I sat Amanda down in our living room and began what would be the most difficult conversation of our marriage. "Amanda, I know about Derek," I said, watching her face go pale. "I know what's really been happening during your training sessions, and I know that what he's been selling you isn't fitness coaching." She tried to deny everything at first, claiming I was being paranoid and jealous. But when I started playing the audio and video recordings from their sessions, her denials quickly crumbled. "This isn't what it looks like," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Derek helped me understand that I was living an incomplete life. What we have is real, Michael. It's not just physical. He sees me in ways you never have." I played more recordings, focusing on the segments where Derek discussed his other clients and revealed the calculated nature of his manipulation. As Amanda heard Derek talking about her the same way he discussed his other victims, as a source of income and ego gratification, rather than someone he genuinely cared about, her devastation was complete. "He said I was special," she whispered. "He said what we had was different from anything he'd experienced before." "He says that to all of them," I replied, showing her the online complaints and evidence of his pattern of behavior. "You're not his first victim, Amanda, you're just his most recent." The next phase of my plan involved exposing Derek's operation to all of his current and former victims. Using the information I'd gathered about his other clients, I created a comprehensive dossier documenting his methods, his false credentials, and his criminal activity. I contacted each woman individually, providing them with evidence that their personal trainer was actually a con artist who was manipulating multiple women simultaneously. The responses varied. Some women were grateful for the information, others were initially angry at me for interfering, but eventually all of them came to understand the scope of Derek's deception. Together, we formed a group of victims who were committed to stopping Derek and seeking justice for the financial and emotional damage he had caused. Our collective evidence showed a pattern of fraud, sexual exploitation, and psychological manipulation that spanned several years and involved dozens of women. We hired an attorney who specialized in civil litigation against predatory businesses, and together we built a case that would hold Derek accountable for both his criminal activities and the damage he had caused to our families. But I wasn't satisfied with just civil action. Derek's operation involved tax fraud, false advertising, operating without proper business licenses, and what amounted to prostitution. I compiled all of our evidence and presented it to local law enforcement, the state attorney general's office, and the IR. The investigation that followed was swift and thorough. When authorities raided Derek's apartment and business locations, they found evidence of an even more extensive criminal enterprise than we had realized. Derek had been running similar operations in 3 different states, targeting wealthy suburban communities where he could find vulnerable married women. His computers contained detailed files on hundreds of women, including psychological profiles, financial information, and explicit photos and videos that he had been using for blackmail when his victims tried to end their relationships with him. Derek was arrested on multiple felony charges, including fraud, extortion, tax evasion, and operating an illegal prostitution business. The evidence against him was so overwhelming that he eventually pleaded guilty to avoid a lengthy trial and received a sentence of 8 years in federal prison. As for Amanda and me, the process of rebuilding our marriage was long and difficult, but ultimately successful. Amanda was devastated when she realized how completely she had been manipulated, and she was committed to doing whatever was necessary to repair the damage Derek had caused to our relationship. We spent months in intensive couples therapy, working through the betrayal and developing better communication skills. Amanda also received individual counseling to help her understand how she had become vulnerable to Derek's manipulation and to develop strategies for avoiding similar situations in the future. The other women in Derek's victim group also worked to rebuild their lives and relationships. 3 of the marriages survived the ordeal, while others ended in divorce. but all of the women found some measure of closure in seeing Derek held accountable for his crime. Derek's conviction was widely reported in local media, and several women came forward with additional complaints about his behavior. The publicity helped prevent him from victimizing other women and served as a warning to others about the dangers of predatory professionals who target vulnerable individuals. The financial recovery was also significant. Through our civil lawsuit, we were able to recover most of the money Derek had stolen from his victims. The court ordered him to pay substantial damages for the emotional distress he had caused, and his assets were seized to compensate the women he had defrauded. Amanda and I eventually moved to a new city for a fresh start, and we've been happier than ever in the 3 years since Derek's arrest. The experience taught us both valuable lessons about communication, trust, and the importance of being aware of people who might try to exploit our vulnerability. We now speak at marriage seminars and support groups about recognizing the warning signs of predatory behavior and protecting relationships from manipulation. Our story has helped other couples identify and address similar threats before they cause irreparable damage. Derek, as far as I know, is still in federal prison and will remain there for several more years. When he is eventually released, he'll be registered as a sex offender and will face ongoing monitoring to prevent him from resuming his predatory activity. The most satisfying aspect of this entire ordeal wasn't just stopping Derek or saving my marriage, it was knowing that our actions protected countless other women from becoming his victim. By exposing his operation and ensuring he faced serious consequences, we prevented him from destroying other families and devastating other lives. Sometimes justice isn't just about punishment, it's about protection. Derek preyed on women who were going through vulnerable periods in their lives, exploiting their insecurities and desires for personal growth to manipulate them into compromising situations. Our response proved that predators like Derek only succeed when their victims are isolated and their activities remain hidden. By working together, gathering evidence, and refusing to be ashamed of what had happened, we turned Derek's own methods against him and ensured that his criminal enterprise was completely destroyed. That's the power of refusing to be a victim and choosing to fight back strategically. When someone tries to destroy your life through manipulation and deceit, the best revenge is exposing the truth and making sure they can never hurt anyone else the same way. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you've experienced manipulation or predatory behavior, remember that you're not alone and that justice is possible when victims work together. Subscribe for more stories about fighting back against people who think they can exploit others without consequence.